Hey guys, welcome to Interesting Video in Wild Rift. So today we're back with another Varus video, and today we're here with the Varus Supplementary guide on Lethality Varus. Now this used to be the pretty much best build on Varus before Terminus came out, but with the addition of Terminus and the meta, I honestly think that the best build is going to be the complete guide that we did way back when on the on-hit build of Varus. But either which way, we're going to go into the Lethality build of Varus. So first up, we're going to start with the Gluttonous Grease for the Omnivamp as well as the AD. I still think this is the best boots for Varus. You could argue that Lethality boots would be better here for the early starting Lethality, but I think that Omnivamp and just a good amount of AD is just better in general. That's just personal preference. But the first item is always going to be Essence Reaver, which is going to give you the ability Haste, the crit, as well as the AD, and of course the most important part is going to increase the damage of your abilities. Now this is mainly for the use of your Q, where it's going to increase the damage by 22.5%. And when you reach the last animal reminder, because it gives crit as well, it's going to be 25%. Now the missing mana on hit restoration actually is really helpful for Varus as well, because he does use up a lot of mana and you don't really have any like mana items here or anything like that, so that's really helpful. So your first lethality item is generally always going to be Youmuu's Ghostblade. This is really good for Varus because it gives you a lot of damage, armor pen. Of course you get the additional lethality when you proc it, and you also get the additional attack speed. So this is just basically the best lethality item for Varus. Now the next two lethality items are kind of going to be a little bit of personal preference slash what the enemy team has. In general, I always go for Edge of Night next because there's always something on the enemy team that a spell shield is good for in general. There's almost no match that you don't want a spell shield. So the drawback of this is that you do get less armor pen because you only got 8 armor pen here, and you do get 250 max health, so I just like this item in general. Now Serpent's Fang is a really solid item. Against shielding, it gives you of course the AD, the armor pen, ability haste, same deal, and of course you reduce shielding. So the other lethality items you have is Duskblade. So Duskblade of course gives you the most armor pen out of all of the items, and of course you get that passive for extra damage as well. So sometimes I can swap it like this. Or you also have Collector. Now Collector is a little bit of a weird run because Collector as a late game item generally isn't very good. Doesn't give the most AD. Doesn't give the most crit as doesn't give the most armor pen as well. 10 armor pen, 40 AD, not the best stats, and the Collector passive, doesn't really help all that much. But what it does actually help you with here is it's a crit item, which means it increases Essence Reaver. So now with this particular build, Essence Reaver, Collector, and Mole Reminder, you're gonna get to 75% crit, which is number one gonna help your auto attacks in general, but number two is gonna increase Essence Reaver's damage to 27.5% extra damage. All in all. So for your last item, as you already can see, it's going to be Mole Reminder for the armor pen as well as the grievous wounds. No surprise there. Now I think the best choice here is going to be First Strike, because your one arrow is going to do a lot of damage. So you're going to get a lot of First Strike damage, but of course First Strike did get nerfed a couple patches ago. And I actually see a lot of Varuses, even though building lethality, like to take Lethal Tempo. Now this gives you a secondary kind of win condition where even though you're very lethality focused, you can still have you can still auto attack, and your auto attack still do a decent amount of damage because you do have some crit, you do have lethality. Lethality of course also works on your auto attack, so you can have a secondary kind of win condition on yourself, so called. But I think First Strike is good. So Brutal here, of course, because you still auto attack and you're an ADC. Giant Slayer is generally good here. Again, Alacrity just to kind of buy into that secondary win condition of auto attacking, because you're gonna be forced to auto attack regardless anyway. And Hex Splash for the extra mobility, or Bone Plating can also work here. Now finally we have Flash. And Ghost is generally what I prefer, but Exhaust also works if you're against a lot of assassins. But all that said, let's jump into the gameplay itself. Alright, so let's take a look at the gameplay itself. Alright, so Lethality Varus. Now, you have so many Varus builds to choose from, so when do you really want to pick Lethality Varus? Well, my personal strategy for that is basically you want to pick Lethality Varus into a squishy team. Now you can see here that we're against like Samira, squishy, Zyra squishy, Kayn squishy, Aatrox might be squishy because a lot of Aatrox like to go for the lethality kind of build, so they're generally squishy. Now Blitzcrank is not squishy, but he's not the tankiest champion either, so he is, alright. So this is a pretty okay match for going for Lethality Varus. Now of course, with something like on-hit Varus, you want to play it against a generally tanky team. AP kind of Varus is like when your team has no AP, things like that. Of course you have all of those combinations of builds, like you could always go for like on-hit into AP, lethality into on-hit, lethality into AP, blah blah blah. So many different combinations. That's kind of just situational and, you know, seeing the situation, things like that. But full lethality, you want to kind of play it into a squishy team. That's when you can get maximum maximum efficiency from your lethality build. So here you can see, speaking of efficiency, we're trying to, you know, get a good trade onto Blitzcrank. Now we can't kill him, but we can get a decent amount of damage in onto him. Especially with Varus being able to build so many different builds, you really, in my opinion, want to only build a certain build when it's efficient. Like, for example, I wouldn't want to build lethality into a tanky team because I'm going to lose so much value from that, right? Like, why would I build lethality when I can build, like, on hit? I can build, like, Bork first item, you know, things like that. So, you know, I generally like to choose the best build, you know, in the particular match for Varus, you know, when I'm in the match itself, and looking at the enemy team comps, looking at my team comp, you know, which sometimes does affect what kind of build you want to go, you know, things like that. So here, of course, Blitzcrank and Samira is a very all-in focused lane. Samira has a shorter range than Varus, and Blitzcrank, the only thing he can really do is to hook someone in, which of course could spell death because Samira has the follow-up and a lot of burst damage as well. But if we don't get hooked in, me and Nami have an incredible advantage in lane. We outrange, we can outpoke, and in general, we're just going to do a lot better than the Blitzcrank Samira, so long as we don't get hooked in. And thankfully for us, Blitzcrank is not very good at landing his hooks. He has landed no hooks so far, and he isn't even really that close to landing a hook, to be very honest. Like, his hooks have been missing the mark, and I'm happy to report that, you know, we haven't gotten hooked at all. So here we're able to back and pick up a long sword together with our boots completed. And that's gonna, of course, give us a pretty good advantage in it. Now, of course, you see here, Samira and Blitzcrank have not backed, and Morgana and Kha'Zix are coming in. However, the issue is that this wave is pushed in, and they're gonna reach their tower, like, pretty much now. So you can see here that pretty much what happens is Blitzcrank actually lands a hook onto Morgana. Morgana dies. Samira goes in. She's level 5 going for an all-in, but we are able to finish her off before she can ult. And here Zyra comes in off the roam as well, following Morgana's lead, and we are able to ult her to root her to the spot, flash out of her ult, and kill her, you know, all in all. So here, now we're going to turn our attention to the tower, where only Blitzcrank is defending the tower, so, you know, he's not really too big of a threat. We land some decent poke onto Blitzcrank. He's probably looking for another hook, and I'm kind of running out of mana, so my game plan here is I want to push in this wave and look for a reset. Samira should be coming back to the lane as well, so she will be able to catch this wave. Blitzcrank probably resetting as well at this point. So here we are going to reset, refill our resources, and also of course get closer towards completing our Essence Reaver. Now the main weakness of going for the lethality build is having to build Essence Reaver first item. And why do I say that? Well, basically, as you can see, Essence Reaver builds out of Caulfield's Warhammer as well as a cloak, which is garbage. You don't get a BF sword, you don't get a recurve bow, you don't get any kind of good item, you don't get zeal, anything like that. Blitzcrank finally lands a hook onto one of us in the bot lane, onto Nami, and there's no follow-up whatsoever, so it doesn't even matter, it's inconsequential. Now Blitzcrank gets zoned down from the fight by the Nami wave. Now he's coming on a weird flank, so instead I'm going to end up just focusing the Blitzcrank just because he's right there. He flashes away, Samira tries to go in, has the ulti, I'm going to root her to the spot, and then just finish off the kill. Samira actually got a couple of kills. She now has like 3 kills and 2 deaths. I have 3 kills and no deaths. I'm still having like a 500 or so gold lead on top of her. But the fact that she's gotten like bullied in the lane, and the fact that Blitzcrank hasn't been landing any hooks onto us that matters, means that Samira has pretty much been playing 1v2 the entire game. And yeah, I've been there myself, where I'm playing Samira in solo queue. I have a support who's basically useless, and the game is just tough. So I can definitely empathize with the Samira here, and she's definitely doing a very good job of keeping herself in the game. Like, you know, 3 and 2 with a collector completed is definitely a pretty good scoreline to have in these circumstances. Blitzcrank lands a hook onto Nami, which actually matters this time. Nami is a little bit worse for wear. Kha'Zix, unfortunately, is here, jumps in and finishes off the Samira, and then Nami finishes off the Blitzcrank as well. So in the end, it turned out to all be kind of a bait. I say kind of because we weren't actually baiting for Kha'Zix, but Kha'Zix happened to be in the area, spot the opportunity, and came in to collect you know, the 2 kills that were just sitting there. And unfortunately for the Samira, pretty unluckily, when Blitzcrank finally delivers, he ends up, you know, getting them a death instead of getting them a kill or 2. So yeah, you know, I've definitely been the Samira on the receiving end of that myself, and yeah, that's kind of just sad for her. And now we're gonna quickly grab this wave and then grab all of the tower plates. One tower plate / tower is left. Blitzcrank tries to ult the wave to clear it, doesn't do nearly enough damage. Samira is not around, maybe she has rotated to another lane, since Blitzcrank is kind of useless anyway. And we're able to actually get the entire tower, which I believe is the first tower of the game. No, actually it isn't, because we already lost first tower top when they got Herald, so it's not first tower of the game, but we still get the tower anyways, which is, you know, always a good thing. I'll take it. So now, taking stock of the situation at the current moment, we have the most gold in the game currently, 3-0-2 with just over 6k gold. Second most gold in the game is basically going to be Aatrox, followed closely by Samira, so the enemy team is still definitely in the game at this point in time. And the game is relatively even, all things considered. Our main lead, of course, comes from me and Nami, whereas on the enemy team, Aatrox has a really huge lead against the 0-4 Jace, who has decided to go for Kempang Chainsword first item, which is never really the way to go. And Morgana has just gotten caught out. Jace is, of course, still dead off of his 4th death. Blitzcrank is on the chase, but he has no one behind him anyway, so even if he lands a hook onto me or Nami there, it wouldn't actually have mattered. So thankfully for us, Blitzcrank is kind of running around like a headless chicken, to be very honest. And here Samira is taking the opportunity to try to get some mid tower plates, and Nami is putting a stop to her. Now I'm making my way there as well, but unfortunately a ward is going to spot me out, so we're definitely not going to end up catching her out or anything of the sort. Instead, we're just going to go mid to do some pushing of our own. We have the Essence Reaver, which means that we basically nearly one-shot the wave, and now we are going to see if we can get tower plates of our own. Now, unfortunately, tower plates end up falling, and Zyra's plans end up zoning off the minions for long enough that we can't actually get any plates. On the meanwhile, Aatrox finally gets dogpiled on in the top lane by 3 people and gets shut down. And meanwhile, we're just pushing mid, hitting Blitzcrank by accident, to be very honest. Blitzcrank again misses a hook because I was behind minions, so he can't actually hook me. So, yeah, Blitzcrank, yeah, not really the best at hooking people, thankfully for us. So yeah, Blitzcrank again just trying to threaten, but he doesn't even have his hook cooldown up at this point because he just used it not too long ago. And here, we're just landing more poke on him, you know, with our first strike and such. Blitzcrank goes down to half health. I end up getting rooted by a Zyra E, but it doesn't really matter that much. Not enough follow-up from the enemy team to make it matter. And we still have both of our summoner spells up, so we should be really safe. Now, a huge wave is accruing at bot, and Aatrox is pushing in. If I leave this unattended, he might get the entire tower, so instead I'm going to quickly come over here. Not only to save my tower, but also to pick up this huge wave. I mean, look at all of this juicy gold. So we're going to quickly grab this wave. Now, we could actually stay for another wave and just clear that, because we basically clear wave instantly with our Q anyways. But we don't really need to set up a slow push at this point, so we are going to just reset and leave the wave to neutral. Huge fight breaking out in the river, and my team is winning. 2 kills already going down. Here I'm looking at the map, and I'm walking to a wall, but it doesn't really matter because the fight is basically over anyways. Here we're just going to quickly clear this, I was going to say clear this minion, but really we're trying to hit the Blitzcrank with some poke. He is really, really low. So, there is a possibility that we kill him. Jace EQ gets absorbed by Samira's Blade Whirl. Blitzcrank hook goes nowhere close once again. We're trying to charge up the arrow to see if we can get a snipe on Blitzcrank, or actually we don't do that at all. I remember doing that though. So Aatrox is now on the fight at the side. We're trying to join our team to make sure that they don't die to the fed Aatrox. But I mean, honestly, this game is just kind of like everyone is kind of trolling their build. And what do I mean by that? Jace has Kempang first item. Aatrox has Death's Dance first item, which is really weird. Zyra has Morelos as first item, which is very, very weird. And yeah, there's like 3 really weird first items on 3 different champions, which is kind of bonkers. So next dragon is up. It is an ocean dragon. There is definitely going to be a fight here. I expect Blitzcrank to hook somebody here because 5 of us are together. There we go. Blitzcrank hook actually lands this time, but looks like he's going to bait his team. Samira tries to go in on the back line, but she gets bursted way too quickly, doesn't choose her moment properly. Aatrox now goes in, shuts me down, gets a reset on his World Ender, gets the movement speed, and currently is actually ending up getting kind of kited out. In the meantime, Jace mistimes the Zhonya's completely, does go on a killing spree though, and Aatrox is the last one standing aside from Blitzcrank, who essentially landed a good hook and had to kind of bail out. So here we of course end up securing the Ocean Dragon, and We're not on soul point, but it's only a mountain soul, so it's not really gonna matter all that much. And in fact, of course, dying here gives the enemy team a not really huge, but a relatively good shutdown to the enemy team off of my death. So that's, of course, no good at all. So here, you can see another huge juicy wave builds up in the top lane, and we're gonna basically instantly clear it with, of course, our arrows. Actually, all of our spells are kind of arrows. Like our Q are arrows, our E is kind of arrows as well, and our auto attacks are arrows. So like that really doesn't really say anything, but yeah. So we're gonna clear it with a Q and an E, and yeah, we can go for the next wave as well. We're really close to getting our next item, which is of course going to be the Edge of Night. Edge of Night, of course, works very well against. I mean, I would say Blitzcrank hook, but he hasn't really even been landing. He hasn't landed a single hook on us the entire match, which of course is a great thing. But other than that, it works on things like a Zyra, E, or like, you know, Aatrox or Kayn. You know, if Aatrox hits me with a Q1, for example, I can immune that and just quickly run away. Or, you know, Kayn W does a lot of damage, things like that. So here, I'm going to quickly push out the bot wave and then rotate. Baron is going to be spawning really soon, so I can't stick around in bot lane for too long because I'm not the enemy team, you know. Can see the ADC who's fed on the wrong side of the map, and they could possibly start Baron. Especially you can see, like, my goal is like 11k, which is like by far the most goal in the game. The next most is like Kha'Zix with 9k, so I'm firmly in the lead. Picking up the blue buff as well, because obviously Varus does use a lot of mana. Kha'Zix jumps on top of the Zyra, nearly one-shots her. Zyra just barely manages to escape with her life, despite the fact she has no flash. And here, my team has like a decent 7k goal lead over the enemy team, and we honestly could probably start Baron if we wanted to and force it. But you can see Kha'Zix is on the wrong side of the map completely, which is never really a good thing because it means the enemy team can see the jungler on the wrong side of the map, and they could go for a Baron themselves if they are able to coordinate. Something like that. So here nothing much is really happening. We're just pushing in, getting mid lane priority. We can't really push up too far because, you know, we could easily get flanked by Kayn or things like that. I'm just trying to land poke, honestly, with my arrows, which is basically the only real useful thing that I can do. Jace trying to land some poke as well. Blitzcrank running straight in like a mad lad. Mad just to miss a hook onto 5 people. And I try to land the ulti. I get it onto Blitzcrank, but not very useful ulti all in all because my team isn't able to follow up. I'm not able to follow up from my own ult because I had all my spells down. But I was hoping my team could follow up. Doesn't really end up working out. Now Blitzcrank is like now 1 HP. And Aatrox is trying his best to come from the side. Blitzcrank didn't back for some reason, so we're going to try to see if we can land an arrow onto him. I think we get, yeah, we actually get the arrow at the same time that Jace got the EQ combo. So Jace ends up picking up the kill. Probably a combination of both of our spells there, just one-shot the Blitzcrank. Really good aim by the both of us. And Blitzcrank is down, and now we're going for Baron. Now, of course, Blitzcrank is not a key member of the team at all. In fact, he's almost non-existent. But, you know, we could force Baron anyway, as I mentioned from the very beginning. We have almost a 10k goal lead at this point. So we quickly just force the Baron and quickly get that. And now, again, a huge top wave has accrued. I'm trying to quickly grab it. But, of course, Morgana is trying to fight me for the wave as well. I'm not going to bother with the next wave, so I'm going to back, get a reset, and get some items. Now here, I was deciding which item to go for. I ended up choosing to go for Duskblade, but I actually think Collector might have been better here. Just because, you know, I don't really see me being able to proc Duskblade that easily in this match, whereas with the Collector getting the extra crit, you know, it's always going to be good. But then again, Duskblade has almost double the lethality that Collector has. Like, he has 8 extra lethality, you know, on top of Collector's 10. So may not really be that bad of an option as well. Yeah. Alright, so anyways, here we are going to try to use our Baron and push. Now Kha'Zix is doing the right thing by pushing out the bot lane and getting you know, some minions pushing there. So I'll be back for the Duskblade before our Dragon spawns. This is, of course, as I said, going to be Dragon Soul. So we are going to go ahead and try to grab that. Looks like there's no contest from the enemy team, rightfully so. I mean, you don't want to die over a Mountain Soul when the enemy team still has Baron. Definitely not the way to go. So here, my team has gone to push mid, and again, I'm trying to push bot with the Kha'Zix. Blitzcrank is getting caught. I believe he actually landed the hook on me, but I think my Edge of Night actually prevented him from hooking me, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that would be the first hook he hit on me the whole game, but it got spell shielded, I think. So anyways, here we're just going to quickly clear the minions and start pushing the lane. Now Morgana is pretty much getting the enemy's attention in mid. Top wave has a huge enemy wave kind of accumulating though. Kha'Zix is going to clear that. Now Kha'Zix seems to be someone who's very wary of the wave state. He seems to always be at the kind of place we need someone to be to either push the wave or clear the wave. The only issue is that he's a jungler, so he generally is not really the person you want to be dealing with the waves, because that's your smite right there that could be dealing with the wave on the wrong side of the map. So anyways, we push in bot wave. Morgana is now back to pushing mid. Now here, we can't really force the tower because we don't really have pressure on the other lanes. So all we can do is kind of just stick around, possibly land some poke, and wait for Morgana and or Kha'Zix to push in. Morgana has pushed in mid, but isn't really there to escort the wave in. So there's really not much we can do here. We kind of just want to back off because like here, the only thing that can really happen is we get picked and like die. Like we can't really kill the enemy team so close to their towers and their nexus. Really, really difficult unless they overstep and end up dying, something like that. Jay's landing some poke onto the Blitzcrank, proccing his mana shield. I'm landing some poke on the Blitzcrank as well. Blitzcrank nearly dies from the Varus Jace poke combo again. Yeah, I mean Varus Jace is actually a very popular like pro play combo where you can land double poke, but rarely see it actually work in solo queue because poke combos are kind of bad in solo queue. Just because teams are too impatient to fight and don't wait for you to poke out the enemy team before fighting. But it seems to be working out just fine here. So Blitzcrank tries to land the hook onto the Jace. Jace has the spell shield as well, and Blitzcrank ends up dying for his effort. And here we can see Aatrox is on the other side of the map, who's, I mean, on top of him, probably him and Samira are the only real threats to our team. Kayn is like 1 and 3. Probably can still one-shot me though. Speaking of which, Samira comes in. We're going to finish her off, flashing forward, almost killing the Zyra as well, but we're going to have to come back to help Nami with the Kayn. And we get the tower as well. Zyra barely escapes with her life. And yeah, so here we're going to see if we can try to end the game with me and Nami trying to focus them in. Unfortunately, Zyra's wave clear is just a tad too good. Manages to clear out the entire wave with her E and her Q, so we can't really do that. So instead, we're going to go for the very safe option of going for Baron and Elder. You can never go too wrong with that. Baron and Elder is always going to help you end the game. Here I am. My team doesn't need help with Baron. I'm actually going to recall. Probably would have been faster if I canceled my recall and did the Baron recall. But here I'm going to complete my Moral Reminder. And here in this match, I actually didn't even get a boot enchant. Or at least not yet. So here where we have like full build at this point. We're going to go to the Elder Dragon. And with Baron and with like how much lead is this, like 15+k gold lead, it's probably gonna be free. Like, I mean, the only way we lose this match is somehow enemy team steals Elder and kills all of us here and then just ends the game, but pretty much no way. So at this point we can pretty much just march down mid as a whole group of 5 and we can probably just end the game right there, but the whole team ends up fighting for a blue buff, and like Kha'Zix is just randomly resetting when we should really just be pushing to end the game. Like, there's no need to reset here. We have Baron and we have Elder. Blitzcrank manages to miss another hook. But, I have spell shield anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to finish off this mid lane tower here. Flash forward, get the ulti onto the Zyra, finish her off, finish the Blitzcrank off, and then just go ahead and end the game. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.